So somebody's not doing their research from a creative standpoint, or somebody's trying to send a message. And, you know, what is that message that you're trying to send? Hello and welcome to the TruthReveal podcast, where we host conversations that relate in order to reconcile as we deliver and reveal God's truth. Today, I am accompanied by my beautiful co-host, April Rivers.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back. Good to see your smiling face and not a picture. And the other co-host, the beautiful Holly Harris, waving.
What's up, y'all?
Yay! So we are back. We are moving right along in season 4, and we wanted to bring more content to you guys that speaks to culture and things that are taking place in our culture. And so with that being said, I wanted to have this conversation with you guys and just talk about race. Like, that's not anything that no one's talking about. But so as we all know, we're home, we're quarantining, and Netflix is giving us new shows every other week, every month. You know, so a lot of people are home and we're watching TV and we're watching, you know, everything that's coming on. So there's this new episode, a new series actually that debuted. I think it debuted Christmas Day on Netflix, called Bridgerton's. Now, I didn't watch it when it initially came out. I waited some weeks, probably waited into, I think, the new year before I actually watched it. But I was seeing a lot of conversation on Facebook about, you have to watch this show. Oh my God, it's the best thing. Oh, I binge watched it, whatever the case may be. So I bit the bullet and I watched it. Just a broad overview. Bridgerton is about, it's a period piece produced by none other than Shonda Rhimes. We all know who she is. Grey's Anatomy has been on TV since Jesus was a baby.
Yeah, my Lord.
And still running strong.
Strong. And got some very loyal fans too.
Very loyal fans.
Honey.
So Shonda has brought Shondaland over to Netflix, and she produced this show called Bridgerton, which is a period piece set in about the 1800s and is debuting the debutantes and them looking for spouses and trying to be matched up. The criticism that the show received, even though it got a lot of rave reviews, it was one of the highest rated series by Netflix. Even today, even though it debuted on the 25th of December, it's still number 3 in the US for Netflix shows out of the top 10. So it's still still has fire under it. And so everyone talked very good about it, and there were rave reviews about it, but there was criticism as well. And a lot of the criticism came from the aspect that the main character is a young Caucasian lady, and the other main character is a Black African-American male. So I won't go into details about the show if you haven't seen it, so I don't spoil it for you. But part of the criticism came from the aspect that people were talking about, okay, the show is good and they're bringing diversity because the queen is Black as well, who's married to a white man. And that's one of the things that's highlighted within the show. Black people are people of prominence. So they're in equal standing society-wise with their Caucasian counterparts. So part of the criticism that was coming was that if you're going to bring in diversity, why not make the main character, the lead character, Black? And, you know, we're not necessarily here to discuss Bridgerton, but just that aspect of how race and interracial relationships are being really heralded here of recent. You know, not just in our shows such as the Bridgerton, but even in the ads. So I want to ask you guys just really quickly, have you guys noticed a uptick in the ads when you're watching TV, because we're all watching TV now, as it pertains to representation with families and different races interracially?
Definitely. I can think of so many commercials off the top of my head now that are, that show interracial couples. And I can only think of two in my head that I've seen that have been, black couples. That's pe- uh, that pretzel commercial. I think Snyder's, and then it's another one where there's a couple that comes over to I think to talk to the black couple, and the guy was thinking they were going to be on Zoom, so he came out in his underwear. I can't remember exactly what the product is, but those are the only two that I can think of off the top of my head where I have seen black couples. Everything else I have seen has been an interracial couple. Not saying that anything is wrong with interracial, dating, because, I personally don't discriminate, but the more, you watch TV, the more you are seeing it. Either you're seeing an interracial couple, or you're seeing biracial children that are
Okay.
in the commercial. So I definitely have seen of late more and more interracial couples being portrayed in commercials.
Okay. What about you, April?
Same for me. It's probably only been a few months that I noticed ago. But yeah, I have seen largely, and particularly, one black person, one white person in a racial couple that I've seen in all the ads, and really haven't seen too many where you have the same race being together in the ads. So yeah, I have noticed that it's been so much that it's noticeable, because I think if it wasn't extreme, I wouldn't have never thought much about it. This wouldn't have been anything that would have went off in my head, because I'm like Holly, I don't have any problem with interracial relationships. But I think what the new buzzword now is not even we're saying we're having a conversation about race, but really the conversations lately have been about the buzzword is diversity.
Diversity, yeah.
But what is diversity?
Right.
What does that really mean? What does that really look like? So, but yeah, I don't want to get too deep into that, but yeah. So yes, I have noticed that.
Okay, I think that's a good segue too, April, because when doing a little bit of research for this particular episode, I went and started just kind of looking at, like, when do we actually start seeing interracial couples being presented in TV? And I was kind of surprised, because the first time I think there was like a definite interracial couple that we can mark was the I Love Lucy show. And, Lucille Ball was in the show with her husband, who was Cuban American. And even when I was, just reading up about this, she got a lot of slack as well, because when the network came to her about doing the show, originally they did not want him. And she basically told them, we come as a package deal. And we know this show is syndicated. This is totally before our times, but we're very familiar with the show. And so, even, in the 70s, I don't think there was a lot of the ad pushing of diversity, but everything was, pretty segregated. So you had your Archie Bunkers and you had your Jeffersons, and interracial marriages had become legalized. And on both of those shows, they took out the time to kind of highlight their thoughts about it. And what was ironic, or maybe it wasn't ironic, was that Black and white didn't agree with it. In the shows on both of them, which Jefferson is, primarily Black, Archie Bunker was a white family. Both of those main characters had comments from a quote unquote negative standpoint as it pertains to interracial dating. But now is what you were saying, April, is everything is being pushed, is being diverse. So I'll ask you guys, what would you define as diversity? Because I think what's being presented is not actually a true, accurate depiction of it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that diversity is also, seeing a white family, seeing a black family, seeing a Hispanic family, seeing, Native American family, seeing, that's diversity too, not just saying, okay, hey, in this ad, we're going to appeal to, a black and a white audience. So we're going to put a black man in here and he going to be married to a white woman, or a black woman and she going to be, so it's definitely a lot more vast than, just that representation of diversity. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, diversity, I agree with Holly. Diversity is not just, I think a lot of times we take but at least media, they take the easy route. Because one, they're not really, I'm not sure what the angle is if they're trying to say, okay, our product and our company is diverse, so let's show you this and we'll say this is diverse. And I feel a lot of times in TV land, it's like working from the outside in. You want to portray something that may not necessarily be what is. Just because you're showing black and white people together in a marriage does not mean black and white people are together in society.
That's good.
It's not. It's kind of like, oh, look, this is diversity. See, we can get along. Let's put y'all as two actors together. And I think sometimes that may have the opposite effect because it evokes different emotions. For me, diversity is showing that, hey, there's such thing as economic diversity. Diversity to me could be showing that, hey, there are black families that have a mother, a father, and children. Because
that's so good.
Because the stereotype.
I was just going to interject right there because I have seen a lot of commercials to where it may be a black mother, but she just has children. You don't see a black father. Have y'all noticed that as well? Like when you do see in some commercials, a black woman, she has her kids, but you don't see the husband.
Oh, okay. I had noticed that.
I've noticed that.
But I was sitting here thinking to myself, like, when is the last time I seen a black couple in a commercial? And I think it's like it's a cable commercial, and I think they're advertising, like, I don't know, but I know the couple, they have a baby and the baby's put to sleep and they're like trying to watch a TV show, and I'm like, that's the only black couple that I can think of. But I think that's such a good point that you just made, how April, as it pertains to what is diverse, because diversity it transcends race.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say this also, that it's economic diversity. Everyone's not rich, everyone's not poor. Like it goes beyond just the skin to show diversity. There are black rural people, there are black urban people, there are white rural people, there are white urban people. So that a lot of, I think they just go the easy route. Like, let's just put the two most contrasting things we can show, brown face, white face, and put them together and say, hey, we're diverse, we're not racist or racially wrong or whatever. Right. But diversity is even deeper to me.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good point to make, because for me, I think it's more important for you to have diversity where it matters, like in the boardroom, because there have been numerous high profile companies and brands that have received backlash for having stuff that was like, clearly there was not a black person in the room when you guys thought this was a good idea. They had a little black boy be a monkey, or I forget, I think that was Old Navy or Gap.
On the shirt.
On the shirt. And
I think that was H&M.
Yeah, he was modeling the shirt. That's what it was.
And all these little various things. I think Dove did something where somebody washed their face and they were black, and then they washed their face with Dove and they was white, and
I'm sorry. It is funny, but
it's funny. It's funny, not funny. But the point I'm making is, clearly there was no diversity in the creation, in the creative element, that no one thought, hey, y'all, this may be a little bit racially a no-no. So diversity it's all of what you ladies have stated, but for me, I agree. I'd rather see not just the diversity portrayed on screen and all the many facets that you guys have just mentioned, but portrayed, in the boardroom, in the creative process, because I think it would really help to bring a more cohesive display of what diversity means and looks like. So my next question that I wanted to ask you guys is, with all that you stated and with all that we talked about, and we're sitting here saying, I can't recall too many commercials where there's a white family or just a black family or just a whoever. What do you think, being bombarded with this same imagery when it comes to interracial couples, how do you think that, let me ask it the right way. What do you think the impact of being bombarded with this same oneness of interracial couples ultimately could have from a media standpoint? Because media is so in our face and it is so everywhere. You can't get away from ads. It's on your phones. It's on the billboards. It's on TV. It's on your computer. So how do you think continuously seeing this bombardment of interracial couples, what that does to speak to diversity of other avenues?
I feel like, perception is reality for some people, and when that is all you're bombarded with and you don't necessarily communicate with, say, a black person on a regular basis, and you don't really know our culture, you may assume that, like when I said in the instance of, some commercials where it's just the black mother and the children are there, but the father isn't. You may assume that everybody grew up in a single parent home that's black, or, or you may assume that black men don't marry, black women, which is completely, far from the truth. And so I think, continuing to perpetuate that over and over again and not giving balance, are there some black men who marry, outside their race? Of course there is. But I think continuing to portray mostly that is sending the wrong message and, ultimately providing a skewed perspective of our family dynamics. So
yeah. And I think as well, I think there can be negative impacts, even though you may be well-meaning, what's the saying? The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Good intentions,
Like, you may have good intentions, but if you hear the voice of people, are we saying that if a white person does not want to marry someone that's black, are they racist now? Are they not, are we, and then not just for other races, but our own children. If our own children only see the only time they see a married couple, it is a white person married to a black person, it gives the unspoken thought that black men and women do not marry each other. Or when there's a family, it's always got to be opposite as far as race is concerned or ethnicity is concerned. So I think sometimes that can be an underlying negative effect that they just don't think about, because again, there's nothing wrong with interracial couples, but anything in extreme is too much. Too much of anything is bad. Right. So and a lot of times we're just a nation of extremes. We don't know. I don't know why we hate the nice middle of the road in America, especially. I don't know why we got to be like, oh, well, can't nobody be, let's everybody mixed, everybody, all the everybody's, married a different race because we're diverse and we supposed to love each other. So let's just portray that everywhere. No, that does not mean that you are not pro-diversity, by showing images of healthy families, healthy couples that are married to the same race.
That's good.
It's just show the right amount, show the black couple, show the white couple, show the biracial couple, show all of them, give everybody a chance, to see themselves.
Right. Right. I think that's so good. No, I'm sorry.
No, that's it. I was done.
Yeah, I think that's so good because even, when I was looking at the research, a lot of the ad people are saying, they're doing these polls and people are saying, we want to see diversity. We appreciate
Mm-hmm.
it. And so I think that definitely speaks to the strides that we have made, because
Yeah.
there was a period in
Yeah,
time where
there
you
you
did
right.
not see Black people, Asian
Mm-hmm.
people, Hispanic people. You saw white people demonstrated and communicating everything across the board.
Yeah.
So I think that is what you said. I think it's good that we're trying to say, hey, we are the ad people, or these ad companies are saying, we're trying to put before people diversity because that's what they
Mm-hmm.
want. I think the issue coming in is that what they're putting is still not a reflection of our society. Because
Yeah.
statistically, when I looked at statistics, what we're primarily seeing is Black and white. Every now and then you may see white and somebody else mixed in, Asian, Hispanic, whatever. I can't recall seeing Native Americans or Indians. You get this one Black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And even from a statistical standpoint, only 11% of our population of interracial dating or interracial couples is Black and white. The
Mm-hmm.
highest percentage is white and Asian, and that's 42%. But that's not what you see displayed in media when you see the interracial couple. You always see you see the Black and the white couple, however, it's mixed in together, which is not accurate. And it goes back to what I think April was bringing out. Um, if you're going to show this depiction, then show it more accurately. Show the 11% that's Black and white. Show the 15% that's white and Asian, and then show the 42%. I'm sorry, that's white and Hispanic. So that's a vast
Mm-hmm.
number, 42% to 11%, but probably all of the ads that we're seeing is demonstrating something totally different. So
Yeah.
somebody's not doing their research
Yeah.
from a creative standpoint, or somebody's trying to send a message. And,
Mm-hmm.
what is that message that you're trying
Because
to send?
it's like, if you go back to that special, I think it was that 2020 did, where they were throwing out all those statistics, about, Black women not getting married, and if you're educated, the chances are even slimmer. If you couple that with those images that you're seeing, mostly interracial couples between Black and, white, then you would conclude from
Ain't no
the
hope.
data that whole Black women ain't none of them getting married. They men are only marrying white women, and it's like it's so far from the truth. So that's why it's so important for there to be balance, because you get these you're throwing these messages out there, and people are gathering perspectives, from those messages. So
Absolutely. And I'm glad you said that, Holly, because I even have statistics to support that, because there was that study that went out that was like, there is no hope for you, Black woman. You shall be alone, but you
yeah.
will not be with a Black man if that's your
Mhm.
desire. It ain't happening for you, sis. But the statistics show something totally different. And,
Yeah.
just to read some of these statistics off to you guys, because there's this myth that when Black men become accomplished, or when they reach a certain status, that they tend to gravitate towards other races. and
Mhm.
and and for all fairness, we've seen that happen. We've
Yeah.
seen the athletes, we've seen the rappers, we've seen the actors who are married or with women that are not Black. And to each his own. We're not saying that that's bad or right or indifferent. That's not the issue. The issue that we want to communicate is that's not everybody, and that's not even the majority. Because
Yeah.
from the statistical data, 83% of Black men who make at least $100,000 a year marry Black women.
Mhm.
85% of Black men that graduate from college marry Black women. 88% of Black men, no matter what their income is, marry Black
Yeah.
women. Yeah. But based off of what media portrays, you only see the successful Black man sometimes married to the Hispanic woman, the white woman, the whoever woman. And that's fine, but it's not an accurate depiction of what's, really the reality. So I think one of my questions that I wanted to ask you guys is, do you guys feel that because of what's being displayed in media, that could even be causing a bridge to be created between Black men and Black women?
You mean a bridge, like as in a barrier?
A barrier, yeah.
Because
of what we're seeing so much in media and the numbers that are being portrayed that really aren't as accurate as the reality.
Yeah, I do think that. I don't like broad generalizations. I'm one of those people that when I hear, even though I know we have to generalize when we're talking about certain things, because there's no way we can know every person, everywhere. But I like to say, well, that may not be all. But see, a lot of times because we are living in a small world other than the internet world, and we don't know every Black male, every Black female, you only know kind of your surroundings, your family, your local community. And if you live in a local community where it's a high rate of single parenthood, single mothers, and you don't see a lot of married couples, then all you have to give you the rest of your perspective to fill the gap is media, is TV programming. So a lot of times that goes into your mind. That is something that those images, they're just kind of put there, you consume it through your eyes and it gets in you to where you're like, see, Black women can't get no Black man because they always with a white woman. And you say, well, why would you say that? Where do you get that from? It's not because you've met a lot of Black men and you've seen a lot of Black men with white wives or Asian wives. It's because you've been getting a lot of media images. You've been getting and consuming because you only see your direct sphere, your family, and then it's what you consume. It does influence us. And a lot of people don't like to say that because we think that means that we're like less intelligent or anything like that. But no, God made us. And I'm going to bring up the Lord Jesus. I'm going to bring up God, the Lord, because, y'all know us, in the faith community, we know that the Bible talks about what we let in our eyes. Our eye gate. The eyes are the window to the soul, meaning the emotions, the desires, your like that part of you, what you goggle at all day and look at all day will influence you emotionally. It will influence you and put you in a space because again, you don't know but what's around you.
That's right.
So someone like me who does come from I came from a 2-parent home, and I, and a lot of us, even if we didn't come from a 2-parent home, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, we've seen what we call Black love, and a lot of our friends are married and, of the same race, we have some interracial couples in our friend groups too.
Right.
But I think we have a balanced perspective because of our circle.
Yeah.
But everybody doesn't have that. So yes. I do think that does influence, like just seeing it over and over again will have us making conclusions that are not necessarily true. It'll become like I think Holly said it, perception becomes reality.
That's good.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I think, that we not only can other cultures, gain those perspectives, but we ourselves can begin to believe those lies. Because I remember after that, that 2020 special and seeing it, I was looking at Black men sideways too. And then when I'll be transparent, when I would see interracial couples, even though I don't have an issue with it, I would feel something rise up in me because of the images that I was being presented with, these lies, like this, that, and the third. So it's like So that does create a wedge, because then you start internalizing. It wasn't until I started hearing the right statistics, like, oh, okay, this is not as big of a problem as they try to perceive it to be.
Right.
And that, I kind of became, and even when it comes to the lie that Black men, and there are some who don't take care of their families, but a lot of them, the majority of them do.
Yes.
And so that's another lie
Yes.
that we begin to internalize, even in within our own community. So it does inadvertently begin to draw a wedge, and we already have a lot working against us. Let's just be real. Because of the systematic things that have happened, already, to kind of take our men out of the home. But that's another discussion. So it's like, on top of that, the images you're being bombarded with, you know what I'm saying? Inadvertently, it can build up a resentment within you, And so that's why it is so important for these images to be accurate in their portrayal, because it,
Yeah. Yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Now that deserves another honorable mention, since you mentioned it. Black men do. I know so many in my personal life, guys that I work with. I know way more of them, even if they are not married to the mother. They get their kids, they take care of their kids, they talk about their kids, they be taking care of other people's kids, they stepdaddies, and you know what I'm saying, and they're willing and lovingly, taking on that responsibility. They work because they work with me, they work in the warehouse where I work, so it's just like, that just deserves an honorable mention. I'm glad Holly brought that up. That's another media betrayal that kind of is like an unspoken thing, but you can see it in the imagery.
Yeah.
And it becomes like a false reality.
Right.
Absolutely. That's a good word. False reality.
False reality. Yeah. I think that's a really good point that you're making out too, because even when doing the research for this episode, that was something that one of the ad gurus was talking about when it came to diversity. They're trying to portray what America looks like. And one of the things that he said, which I thought was so profound, even though I knew it to be true, was, and he literally said, the more we put it before people, the more comfortable they will be seeing it. And I think that says a lot. And that says more, that goes beyond race, that goes into everything. If you're constantly being if something is constantly being put before your eye gates, as April was talking about, and you're constantly seeing something, you can become desensitized to the thing that you're consistently seeing. And we know that media and ads spend millions upon millions, probably billions of dollars, gearing themselves to appeal to whoever that audience is. There's a whole Netflix special about how these companies have these supercomputers and they are running while we're sleeping, and they know our moves, they know where we go. I was just like, for example, I was doing some research on something, and so I kept going to sites on candles, and I was looking up all this information about candles and different things and how to make them and vessels and this and that. And then I started to notice when I would go on Instagram, I would start seeing pop-ups, and it would be like, this candle company, and I was like, because I'm slow.
How y'all know?
I didn't even ask for it. I had never heard of the company before.
Yeah.
But it was like I started getting pop-ups, and when I would go on Facebook, now mind you, I'm not looking for these things on Facebook, nor am I looking for these things on Instagram. I'm looking for these things in my search engine on Safari. But because I have accounts in Facebook and Instagram land, and because I'm being tracked, as we all are, because of ads, they start pulling these, they started showing me what I had been looking at. And so I think that's a lot, that speaks to a lot of, of that false reality sometimes, when you're showing someone something that they maybe weren't looking for. But if you're constantly seeing something, then it does become in your mind like, what, maybe this isn't, like, maybe this is the reality that everybody is interracially dating. So I think that's a really good point. And even, go ahead, April.
No, I didn't want to cut you off. Finish your thought, but I got something.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, even in our cartoons, just like as a sidebar, the representation still isn't the same. You know, Soul, everybody saw Soul. Yay, so cute, little jazz man, Jamie Foxx. It was cute.
Precious.
But it received critics as well, because there was this whole side conversation about why come the black characters don't stay black the whole movie. They transform into frogs and ghosts and pink and pigeons, and just from some of the cartoons. I think there's something to be said about that. And it's totally another topic for another day, but it goes back to what we're seeing before us and how that matters, even down to our animation.
Absolutely.
There's been, we're not being given our
completely
just
totally
due.
Represented.
Right. So I think that's something that I thought was a good segue. But April, you had something to say.
Yeah, well, with the cartoon, it comes down to, I think, when you talk about media images and stuff, it's about seeing ourselves as we are, right? Yes. Like, hey, can a black man just be a black man through the whole cartoon?
Right.
Can a young black girl be a young black girl in New Orleans instead of a frog half of the time? And then not only taking her out of her human body, but then taking all the humans away, and you have half of the movie is in a swamp where there's just no other blacks around. You miss the cultural aspects of black family in New Orleans and things like that, beyond the parts that they did show. But what you triggered in my head, since we're talking about images and diversity, and if any producer, writer, Netflix, anybody listening, diversity, again, I'd say it's beyond skin. Let's talk about the lack of diversity and how we see Christians on film and Christians ads. Let me tell you something. I be seeing what you're doing. Every time is late that you see a Christian, you don't see a loving person. You see, think about oh God, what's that movie Carrie? And Carrie, the mother was supposed to be religious. And she was crazy.
She was crazy.
Right? Great. Flowers in the attic. The mother would come up there, the grandma would come and tell scripture, and she'd be beating them and starving them. Like it's like making the Christian be the weird, fanatical. You know what I'm saying?
Or either they ain't got no power. If they fight the demon, they ain't got no power. Right.
So, yeah. Power of Christ compels you. But yeah, so that part of how Christians are portrayed. You want to talk about diversity? Why don't you diversify that, Mr. Diversity Man? You know what I'm saying? There are real Christians, and if you need to see some, you know what I'm saying? Do like y'all study anything else y'all study for roles and parts and things. Don't take the work, because basically what it is like you're giving us a message. Everything in programming and movies, it's intentional. And what I have to tend to think is that if you continue to portray one group of people one way, then you're doing that purposefully. You're not trying to give an accurate depiction
at all.
You're trying to tell me how you feel about me. And that goes where how you're portraying a person that is of my same color and ethnicity, or how you're portraying someone who is of my faith.
Yes.
So we talk about diversity. Again, the easy way out. Okay, let's just put black, white. But you don't diversify. Everybody ain't no heathen. There are real Christians, and every Christian is not a hypocrite. That's another thing they portray. Christian.
Or judgmental.
Or judgmental, but see, judgmental to the world is different.
Got a secret life.
The secret life is what I'm talking about, because a lot of times judgmental can mean just talking about what's right and wrong. That's not judgmental.
Well, I'm saying, when I say judgmental, meaning sometimes when Christians are portrayed in movie and in theater, how they're the person that they're not just saying what's right or wrong. They're living this whole other reality, but still wanting to talk about what's
beat
right
somebody
and wrong.
else over here.
Right.
The hypocrisy, and like
The hypocrisy.
the secret life. Like what was
Right.
the one that Tyler Perry did that was real popular? I think it's still popular. Greenleaf. Was Greenleaf?
Greenleaf.
Oh, honey, them jokers was
Greenleaf.
This is good though.
I'm like,
no, that ain't Tyler Perry. That's is that A?
That was that's Oprah.
I thought that was Oprah.
No,
he
the
put it
person
out
who
through her
produced it.
network.
Oh,
but Tyler had something to do with it, didn't he?
I don't think
that
so.
ain't Tyler.
That wasn't Tyler.
That's Ava DuVernay, I think.
We'll have to do the research on that.
Nonetheless, look, we'll get back. Let us do the research on that. but the point I'm making is, can't nobody just be straight up? Can't no one can live the life that is not accurate. Crazy. That's not accurate. And when it comes to the church, everybody's not living a secret life. Everybody's not cheating on their wife. Everybody's not cheating on their husband. Everybody's not stealing money.
But that makes for good TV and drama. So I think that's why
it does. But to be fair, we're talking about diversity.
That's true.
That is not diverse. Wait a minute. A Christian can have. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want you to finish.
Somebody named Craig Wright.
Okay.
Definitely complete. Oh, well, keep going.
Okay.
We don't know you, Craig.
But yeah, so the point I'm making when it comes down to diversity, there can still be drama because Christians go through regular things like everybody else. Yeah. If you would take an accurate study of the aspect of Christian life, you can get the drama, along with that. You can get the stuff we go through along with that. So, it's just, again, now I don't want to take it too deep. I went that aspect just because, like I said, different levels of diversity. If you want diversity, you can do all kind of things, but I think a lot of times we don't really want diversity. What you want is a good image to go along what you think going on in the times. Right. Popping now, then everything's gonna be this,
or somebody that has a black face, but the representation of them is not what a black person would say. It's not what a black person would do. It's like,
I'm sorry, Pure Flix.
Pure Flix, you took the words right out my mouth. Because we're talking about diversity, and we're not.
I love you, Pure Flix.
We're not. I don't want to just be unbiased, where we're coming at a more secular representation through a Netflix or whoever, and not talk about the Christian representation as well. I thank God for the mission that Pure Flix is trying to portray, and the message that they're sending forth in their movies. But if they don't get some black people in the boardroom, in the creative space, oh my goodness. If I got to see, in the words of my friend, if I got to see one more little girl fall off a horse and about break her neck and die and come to the Lord on the ranch, I'm like, oh my goodness. I can't take it. I'm saying the language of Pure Flix. I watch Pure Flix movies. And they're not diverse. They may have black people in them, but you can tell the writing was not something that
they did not
black people at all.
Right.
So if we're going to talk about pushing for diversity, let that be in all the arenas. Absolutely. And let us be represented accurately.
Yes,
absolutely. In all the arenas. That was funny. We love you, Pure Flix.
We love you. Keep doing what you're doing. Just improve.
That's right. Just do better. Do better. So I think the last question that I want to ask you guys before we wrap up, and it may be something that we kind of already have hit on, but that question is, what messages are being sent culturally when we portray this skewed view of racial relationships? And you guys may have already kind of hit onto that a little bit.
Yeah, that, black women don't get married, or we don't marry black men. that there's no hope, that, just the skew, like you read the statistics. So, I mean, I think that kind of sums it up right there, that it just the representation is just not accurate. And so.
Yeah, and I mean, I second that. I feel like we kind of intersected that answer with our other answers, but just culturally, it's just a cultural misinformation and miseducation to those who are of our same culture, and even our children who only have their immediate surroundings to go by, and what media betrays.
Right.
Absolutely.
Cool. I think this has been a good topic. I think we have hit on some very prevalent things that are taking place, and hopefully all the ad gurus who scour through YouTube for new content will come across this and be convicted and compelled and be converted and compelled to do better. So I would just like to say that I want you guys to just kind of give us what do you want our listeners to take away? What is the thing that you want them, after listening to this episode and hearing us dialogue, what is the takeaway that you would like for them to have?
I would say, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh.
Somebody.
I would say, especially when it comes to Black representation, just encouraging, Black artists, Black content creators, to rise up and let's tell our stories, accurately. Let's not just depend on, those who are currently in position to tell our stories accurately. Right. Let's do that for ourselves, and overall, it would be a message of diversity for each and every person that's listening. Don't just gather your information from the media or from, some ad, get to know somebody who doesn't look like you. So that you can truly get an accurate representation, of the people that you may watch on television. And then you will know that, okay, wait a minute, Johnny ain't living like that. So I know that ain't, accurate. So I think that is another thing that can kind of help us, with our perceptions, of one another. It's just really getting to know each other. Break bread with somebody who don't look like you and get to know them for who they are. So
yeah.
Holly had the bomb ending. I don't know what like what she said is what I have to say. And it's very important for us to educate ourselves, not leaving ourselves just to the mercy of media and mercy of media images. Cut the TV off sometimes. Get off the phone. I'm talking to myself. Get off the phone sometimes and experience other people, other living humans that don't necessarily look like you. And see, I was blessed. Another way that I was blessed growing up is I come from a military family background. So you want to talk about the dynamic of seeing Asian and everybody married with the Asians. That was something very heavy in the military because we had military base over in Asian countries, and white and Hispanic. And I was exposed to that, Black and Hispanic. My father had many fellow soldiers who interracially married. So that was something that I was exposed to in my personal life, and not just in image. But I think it's important for us to just be around other humans and not just be at the mercy of media.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think those are very good points. So I want to say that I ditto what April and Holly have said. And I think my takeaway that I would leave our audience is I just want to bring it full circle in saying that in discussing this topic, it's not to say that there's an issue that we have with interracial dating. The issue that we have is with the representation of diversity. And how it's being portrayed. Because I think April may have mentioned it, diversity is white families, diversity is Black families, and it's interracial families, whatever that interracial component looks like. So, I think that was the overall arching point that we wanted to make, that display diversity from a very accurate place, even spiritually and faith wise.
Absolutely.
So this has
Don't
been.
believe the hype.
Don't believe the hype.
Yeah.
Watch what you let come into your eye gaze. Perception can become reality, and sometimes it's a false reality. And then stay tuned for more episodes of the TruthReveal podcast. Like us on Facebook. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, and then share, and then share again. And this is season 4, so we have 3 other seasons of content.
Absolutely.
If you go through our content and find something that you feel like would speak to someone that you know, send it along, copy the link, and send it in the email, and just share, because we are very intentional about what we're doing, and we appreciate you guys rocking with us these past 3 seasons as we press through the 4th one. And we will see you again next week with new content that was going to relate in order to reconcile as we reveal God's truth. Peace out.
Peace
Love y'all.
out.
Bye.